I'll be right back. Bing, bang, boom.
Bing, bang, boom. So Jim has got some really interesting, cool ideas about all things pertaining to the Manatis, where that region of Athalia. He's got some cool story ideas. I wanted to talk a little bit about maybe making 2 or 3 magical items based off of the crystals that these Manatis molt. Todd had given us that idea at some point, and I think that's a cool idea, like being able to use it and forge it into some kind of weapon, a dagger, an amulet, a ring, whatever you want, but it contains this magic that it's, I don't know, maybe it's easily imbuable, or you can, I don't know, maybe there's different color crystals can do different things. But that was another idea. The last idea I had, I'm just going to throw this out here, and I told Jim earlier, was to create, I know originally we had talked about the adventure starting with a king or someone sending people to collect these crystals. So I was thinking we're going to need a town at some point, and we're going to need businesses, names of businesses, business owners, to tie them all into the story. So I think we got a lot of things that we could work on, or we could just completely do something completely, totally different. It's up to you guys.
I like the idea of weapons from the crystals. And the first thing I thought is when you find these crystals, you don't know the magic in them. So these Manatists are always feeding and getting mana from spells when they're getting hit or hit by a magic weapon, and it's all random to him. So shouldn't the crystals be random of what type of magic?
I love that. Yeah, you could even roll you could do a chart for all the schools of magic, break it down that way, and then go further. Yeah, I love that. I love that because it's almost just random. You don't know what you're going to get, but it has to be forged before you find out. I do think one property of these crystals that they should all have, though, just like the Manatis, I think that you should have advantage on spell saving throws if you have, whether it be an amulet, a sword, a ring, whatever it is, like you have advantage because of the magic contained within this thing. It's got to be, I think this would be a high tier, very rare to almost not legendary, whatever it is, but underneath that.
Or maybe if you made a ring or an amulet with that crystal, that gives you advantage to save her.
Yeah, it could go that way. It could be not every item, but I do think it should have, like, because of these these creatures can detect magic innately, maybe all the items can detect magic 3 times a day or something.
And there are magic items that just holding that item does give you that ability. The ability is similar to that. So yeah, I like that idea.
I started to hear that. I had to step away, but I really dig them. All looking the same, but you have to figure out what they're imbued with. It's not like a color coding system. It's just like, who knows what
if nobody has detect magic, after you make it, it's just a crapshoot of what it's going to do when you try to use it.
A random magic item, a random magic effect, I should say. That's great. I really dig that.
And would detect magic determine what's within the crystal? Do we want to make it that easy?
I think you'd have to do the identify, the spell or ritual, take the time. And even then, like, I feel like it should be a little vague. Like, you should be able to determine the school, but until it's forged into the ring or the blade or whatever it turns out to be, you know that it's an evocation weapon, or whatever. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like the idea of making it hard for the user to figure out exactly what it's going to do.
Like a mini game.
Yeah, it's kind of like you get this weapon created and forged for you, and it's like this anticipation of what's it going to do when I hit something with it. I kind of like the idea of not knowing it until you actually use it.
Yeah, I'm on the fence about that because it would be kind of neat, like whoever is doing the forging, whether it's like a wizard or a dwarf, pending if it's a weapon or if it's not that dwarves. I'm sorry, that was very speciesist of me. I apologize, but dwarves do a lot of forging. Like it would be kind of cool if they could hand you whatever it is and be like, this is da and it does this. But at the same time, you could find one of these weapons and not know until you use it.
Yeah, would an artificer have to do it?
I think so. Yeah.
Because artificers, yeah, because they deal with magical inventions.
Creations. Yeah.
Yeah.
And imbuing. Yep.
Yeah. So I think it would have to be more than just a weaponsmith.
Yeah, I wonder if you'd have to have a wizard and a smith together if the item you're trying to make is a weapon. Like, because I would imagine a jeweler could probably make anything else, into whatever shape and size you want.
We have these crystal refinements specified in this area. Like only there's like a cave, or I'm sorry, encampment, or like a zone where you'd have your blacksmith and your apothecary and stuff. They know how to work with the crystals, but stuff, because they've been living with it for a while and stuff.
Yeah, that could be that level that you were talking about, Jim. We don't know what level it's going to be yet, but there is one of these levels that there is another offshoot. A lot of drow probably live there, or we were even talking about making a whole new species that inhabit that area, and those would be the enchanters or the wizards or whatever that would know all about these crystals and how to imbue them or turn them into whatever you want. That's a cool idea. Yeah.
But I would think your main city would have an artificer too.
Yeah.
It'd be great if the party just happened to have one.
Yeah.
I know I tried to play an artificer once and it was confusing, but it is a class I would like to try again.
Mm-hmm.
And having something like this, I think, would kind of encourage someone to actually be an artificer.
Cool.
Yeah, that's one thing when it first came out, I was kind of excited about it because I thought it'd be really cool to be able to make really, enchanted weapons and armor for the party, but just to find out that that ability is very limited of how many you could have crafted at once. And I kind of got to the point where I realized it's basically you're basically going to want to create items for yourself and not as much for your party. And maybe if we could make this a little feature that maybe that would allow an artificer to create for the party.
Yeah. So let's create like one example, maybe more examples of an item you could make with this. That, let's say you brought one of your crystals to an artificer. The artificer is now crafting whatever it is you chose him or her to craft. What is the item? What do we want to create and use? There's got to be some definitely distinct features of this crystal that no other magical item has. And we could even say that, we could do a mid-range thing, like a very rare thing, if we wanted, or we could do an epic tier item, or we could do one of each, depending on how much time we have and what we get to. But what do we want to make as an actual first item with these crystals? Or do we just want to focus on the properties of this crystal and the, I don't know, the history behind the crystals? Or...
Well, I guess we got to think about how would it be fashioned onto the weapon. I mean, obviously, if it's a spear or an arrow, because you can put on the tip. But if you're doing a sword, is it going to be just like a, do you put it on the hilt? Is it going to
kind of like
be fashioned onto the guard?
I think about like the Sword of Omens from Thundercats. It has that huge Thundercats logo in the middle of it, or the eye in the middle of it, pending what's happening. You could almost...
Okay, so if it's attached to something, it will imbue...
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Carved item, like if it was entirely carved out of crystal, or like sculpted.
Yeah, like a dagger or something.
Yeah, how big are they? Are they big enough to kind of, grind it into an actual blade?
I feel like you could break these crystals down and the artificer should be able to reforge them into a blade if that's what you're looking for. I don't think they'd ever be longer than, I don't know, maybe 18 inches, because you figure these creatures have to drag around this weight of all these crystals on their backs, and they're supposed to be mantis that are, fast and lightning strikes.
It could be like a Titanic one with huge crystal formation.
Yeah. Maybe like that would be the top tier items. Like if you find a crystal on one of these big boss type creatures, they're like 3 or 4 feet long, and that's where the blades come from. Extremely rare to even find them. Even more rare to find a weapon forged by with one of these.
Make them extremely difficult as well.
Yeah. Maybe the strength of the crystal is based on the age of the creature too, because as they're younger, they're just starting to feed. So you might have some very weak and common magical effects that you'd find from their crystals. But as you get on older and older, they just become more and more powerful, more loaded with magic energy. Do you think it should be an option that if you brought it to an artificer and you wanted a certain ability, it could be manipulated to magic? Or do you think it's still always a crapshoot?
I think it should always be a crapshoot.
Yeah?
Because if it's got the properties of, ice, I mean, would you be able to change that to fire? Or could it have multiple? I guess some could have multiple, because the Manatis is storing the energy from these different kind of magics of spells. Or spells magic.
They could even be chaotic items, you know what I mean? Where they're just chaos magic. Like every time you use it.
That's kind of great. I like that idea.
Yeah, I like that even better.
You never know what's going to happen. Like
because the Manatis is getting different types of magic hitting at him. He's collecting it, whether it's. So if he's going to be collecting, random magics, the magic it deals out should be random.
I was thinking about a behind the scenes thing where you make a table of potential modifications and then have the player do like a roll, and whatever they roll, that's what the crystal will be imbued with.
Yep.
Like they don't know exactly, but it's from this specific list. But I like the wild magic idea. I think that's great.
Yeah, it would still need that chart anyway, whether, you were determining what it was going to be or if it's wild magic. We still need that chart, so that's something we will have to come up with. And I love doing stuff like that, like with the deck of many things. I remember when I first introduced it to the game years and years ago, I ended up making my own. We were playing with a friend of ours, Brad, who was really good at making databases. So he just created 100 different effects. We just sat down and came up with a bunch of things, and that became that. And I think this could become that for this scenario.
My character had that deck, and I think I used that table.
Yeah. At the end of our games, like sometimes we'd still have some time left or whatever. Artie or Jess would just be pulling cards from the deck of many things. What's going to happen tonight, folks? Who knows?
He ended up with angel wings that way.
Yep.
Now, if it is random and it does have all these stored magic within it, could you maybe so many times per day actually choose which one you want? And then the rest of the time, have 2 or 3 per day?
Yeah, I love that, because it's not the most beneficial item in the world if you don't know what's going to happen. And if it could have a negative outcome, you're less likely to use it. So there's got to be some initiative to actually want to use the item. It's got to have a benefit. And I think like 3 uses per day, you can select from the random list what you want it to do, and it'll do it for you.
So when you're saying random things, are you saying it's not just what type of damage, like fire, acid, thunder, or are you talking about it may actually do a magical spell?
I guess it depends on the item. If it's a weapon, I think you're right. I think it should do different forms of fire damage or whatever type of damage you want to use for the blade. But I think if it's a ring or a necklace, or it even could be a weapon. Like I think you could have the ability to have it popping off random spells too. I think we should hand pick it, but
or maybe you can choose what kind of damage you want it to do. Like if you use it on a sword, to give you your sword damage plus a 2d6 of a type of damage that you choose. But if you roll a 1 or 2 or something like that, then you have to roll from the random table.
That's a good idea. That way it's not.
Or if it's a certain type of roll that you hit, maybe we want to make it so it comes up more often than just a 1 or a 2. Or maybe a critical hit also. Certain things, a critical fail, a critical hit, and maybe maybe on a tie to hit.
I was thinking maybe on a crit you could pick your own effect from the table.
Yeah.
Then maybe if it's like 17 to 20, so there's a little bit of a window, a little incentive to try to roll, or I don't know, pick. It doesn't seem as impossible, like as high an odds to roll a 20.
Yeah, I like that stretched out critical. Like, I think 17 to 20 pops off an effect. 3 times a day you can choose which effect you want it to do. I almost feel like as a DM, I want you to use that weapon for like 3 or 4 sessions before you realize everything it's capable of. You know what I mean? Because you wouldn't know at the beginning all the things. But, for sake of gaming, we can just choose if it is a weapon, in this case, what type of damage it does, you can pick. Should there be some kind of a name for these type of magical items that make their way to the surface and people find them? Are these crystals named something special, or do we want to like label them like something? I don't know. Just that's something to keep in the back of your head as we're working on this. I feel like there's a name.
With the Manatis, do we want to go with the idea I came up with? That it collects mana?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, from the damage. So, it could be mana crystals.
Yeah, mana crystals work.
Something like that, maybe. I don't know.
We could even just make up a word, too.
True.
Yeah.
Because the people would call it something, so we got to come up with that something that they call it.
The Carabon crystals, or...
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a nickname.
Yeah.
What about a name for this whole region that you find the Manatis, that you find the Terra Worm, you find these crystals? Like, I feel like it needs a name, maybe it's named after the town that you were talking about, Jim. Like, that layer, maybe it's just called, that whole area is known as that. I don't know.
That region, that depth, darkness.
Or maybe, you got the Underdark. Maybe there's another name, generalized name for what's below the Underdark.
So the Underdark, above light.
What's the elven word for below darkness? Something to think about. Just something to think about as we're pulling this all together. So what if it's not a weapon? What if, like, it's been, made into a ring or a necklace, a piece of jewelry? What then? Like, what is it capable of doing in that case? Like, I mean, do you just randomly use it? Maybe it's got like a spell word or something that you call out when you want to use it. What happens then?
Maybe it has once a day you could do like a 24-hour buff. Basically like what you do when you, from the same table, you get to roll or pick one.
It gives you resistance to whatever.
Yeah, that would be cool. Like with a ring, you could just be like, today I want, hopefully if this works, I want to be resistant to fire. And,
right.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can do reactions. So many reactions a day.
Yeah, I guess
it's kind of like a protection. It's kind of like a protection ring or amulet.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So
and if you do a critical, or if you do roll on an attack, because the wizards do have, magic users do have attack rolls also. If they get a critical or critical fail, critical hit, it's going to do something random.
Just from having it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
So I guess basically this thing can be imbued into any weapon.
Yeah.
It could be, artificer can fasten it to any form of weapon. I wouldn't think you'd want to use it on an arrow because you don't want to lose it.
Yeah, you want to get it back. But, it could be, if you have enough of these crystals and you want to make arrowheads with them, you have them.
That's true. If it's big enough, you can break them down to maybe 20 different small
Oh,
areas.
yeah. Because even if we're talking about, let's say they're 12 inches long, these crystals, and they're, I don't know, maybe like an inch and a half around, I would think you could get a ton of rings. I think you could get a ton of, although I guess maybe like you can only forge one item per crystal due to the fact that, I don't know, because if you have a crystal that's like this big, you could make 100 rings out of it. You know what I mean? Like,
That's true. And is it going to reduce the magical properties is it going to dilute it by cutting it down?
I think one item can be made per crystal. Like if you try to make more than one item per crystal, the magic gets too diluted and it just breaks it down. So maybe in some weird way, the crystal, just like many of the creatures down here, have some kind of, they're sentient almost in a way. Like there's an intelligence or something behind their eyes, basically is what I'm saying. So that like, if you try to break it down into multiple items, it just shuts down. Whereas if you're forging one item from it, I don't know. I'm going a little deep there. That's a little crazy. Forget about it. Sorry.
I'm with it. I get it.
Yeah. Well, I guess we really do need to figure out what the size of them are. And you say that you find them because the Manatis molts them. So maybe they're not that large and they would be more gem sized that you would use to, maybe fasten it onto an item to imbue it, or instead of trying to make the actual blade or
of it.
point.
I think like I was saying earlier, I think the different ages of the Manatis, like if you get an older Manatis, you might get something large enough to make a blade with. But generally speaking, that's so rare that would be our top tier, like legendary item type thing. All the other crystals are probably something you would put on a ring, or I mean, maybe you could break it down and making a potion out of it too, just mixing the crystal in with
grind
whatever.
It.
Yeah.
So maybe we first need to think about the size. Whether it's going to be for a ring size that you find. If you find one that's the size for a ring or an amulet, put on a wand. Maybe it's going to have a certain abilities, but like you said, as you get larger, they become more legendary.
Yeah.
And then you can make more impressive weapons with them, or wizard might make an entire staff out, or half of his staff with it.
Definitely, and those items, like I said, would be super, super rare. Like, but all the other ones would have crystals large enough to make anything else, smaller than the size of a softball, probably. So we need a chart. Do we want to come up with how many different effects do you think, random effects, would these items have? 20? Make it easy to deal with, or?
Yeah, then you roll it. Yeah, because you roll a d20 to see what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So, we just need to think of which spells would be fun ones.
Keep maybe 3 or 4 that are detrimental, that will come up on a random roll that no one would ever really choose, but sometimes you're going to have to face that you might get that.
Yeah, I do think if there's 20 options, I think at least 5 of them should have negative consequences, and then maybe the other 15 are good, or do you think it should be 50-50? I think it should be 5 out of 20.
I think we need to have one, like Thunder Wave. I think it needs to be one, because that's going to hit everybody within a 15-foot cube. That could be people in your own party, and also whatever creature just happens to be 15 feet. Okay. And it's very loud, so you may not want to. Because I know I've had wizards that I rarely use it because a lot of times you don't want to make that loud noise. Mm-hmm. So that would be just a random spell that just cracks out. I mean, it could be a positive or negative. If you're surrounded and there's no one in your party around you, it's a good. But if your party's around you and you don't want to be heard, that's not good. Mm-hmm. So that's one that could be fun.
I was thinking of combo stuff.
Yeah.
Get imbued with giant strength, but you go blind. you also go blind for the duration.
Let's do that. Let's do giant strength, but you're blind. That's another like positive, negative one. They could, I mean, I think 5 of them should be extreme positive, negative ones. Then the rest, if we can come up with mild negative, mostly positive, that'd be kind of cool.
Well, what about darkness?
Darkness, okay. So darkness gets
Because that can be annoying as shit because all of a sudden nobody can see.
Yeah. What about a random teleport?
I was thinking of that. Yeah.
30 feet, 60 feet.
Oh yeah, what's that called? Dimensional door or wizard step?
Well, you have Thunderstep. Thunderstep. I love that spell.
What's that one?
It affects creatures that are 10 feet. I think 10 feet away from you. Let me look it up. It's 10 feet away from you. Then you can also disappear and transport 90 feet or no, 300 feet away. You teleport yourself to an unoccupied space you can see within range. Immediately after you disappear, a thunderous boom sounds, and each creature within 10 feet of the space you left must make a Constitution saving throw and take 3d10 thunder damage.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Huh?
Yeah. Oh, I love that spell. And you can also take someone else with you if you have a party member right next to you. But I think that would be a random, so I don't think. I mean, I guess that'd be up to the DM if they can allow you to grab someone on the way out. But I think you would do it. I think anybody in your party would be left behind.
Yeah, I'd say it'd be situational. And if it's only 300 feet, you know what I mean? That's a football field. It's just like you could still see the party. The party could probably, if they looked around, see you. So we need at least one more negative one like that. Which even that one could be positive, depending to where you're randomly.
Both the thunder ones could be negative or positive or both. I like area effect ones.
Then we can just make some silly ones too, you know.
No, like when Ken turned into a flowering pot.
Yeah. I'm trying to relate it back to the Manatis too, like what effects it would probably have, you know, stored up in its magic. What does it normally use its magic for? It'd be cool if one of the effects was the actual spell that they cast when they do their wings.
Oh, yeah.
We'd need to create that at some point.
Hallucination spell, or is there something like hallucinating, basically?
An illusionary spell, maybe?
One kind of freezes people around you, kind of stuns you.
We could do just a time stop for like 10 seconds.
Mesmerize. That's what it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, each creature in a 30-foot radius must succeed a DC 17. They fail, they're stunned for 1 minute.
Yeah, let's do that. I think that's a good negative one. Now we need some positive ones. Maybe like...
Wisps whirling around you for 1 minute.
Okay, yeah.
In that one, any claw attack, I guess you could do any melee attack, gives you deals 2d8 extra damage. And any creature that attacks with a melee weapon does it with this disadvantage.
Yeah, that works because it comes right from the creature itself.
Well, and then we only have one more, which is the Mana Burst. Bright green ray spreads out from the Manatis crystals in a 60-foot cone. Each creature in that area must succeed on a DC 17. On a fail, the creature takes 2d8 radiant damage.
Yeah. Mana Burst, Mana Shroud.
So hopefully you'd be facing your creatures you're attacking because it is a cone.
Mm-hmm.
This might be wrong, but is chromatic spray still is that a spell?
Yeah, I think so.
Based on the color you saw, or something, it would have a different effect.
You want that to be one of the negative?
I mean, it's a suggestion.
Yeah.
If you get hit with it, it's probably a negative.
Chromatic spray.
Yeah, prismatic spray. Yeah.
Prismatic. Yeah.
I think it's chromatic dragons. Like
I knew that didn't sound right. I was sitting there going, that sounds right, but not right. Something's not right with that.
Yeah, that is cool because it does. You roll a d8 and that determines the color, and each one has a different damage. They all it looks like they're all 12d6. Well, 1 through 5 are.
That would be a bad one to roll on.
And then it's got 3 that have other type of effects. One of them's blinded, the other is restrained.
All right, number 11. What's the next effect? Random effect. I figure we'll leave the last 5 to be ridiculous ones, and then we'll have 10 positive, 5 negative, and then 5 weird.
Do you want to have any healing ones?
Yeah.
There's a combo one. You fully complete heal, but you turn to stone for like 2 turns or something. So you'd be safe technically while you. It's like a bug.
As long as nobody took a hammer to you, you'd like be fine. Yeah.
Or maybe you turn into the kind of crystals. Just turn into a big crystal form.
Yeah, crystal would be great. Maybe you can't be hurt, but you're just out of commission for what? How many rounds?
Yeah.
I'd say a
Until you roll.
D4.
4. Yeah, that's good.
1D4. It'll be random and just like everything else with this thing.
I think this will be fun. It's kind of fun for the players because they get to interact with everything that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got to roll on it. You can even keep the table secret. Not like, they don't have to have the table. They just roll a D8.
What if one of them is like it just starts randomly raining gold in a 30-foot area?
How about transform into a beast?
Oh, yeah.
Into a random beast, and maybe each one would have a different kind of attack, like maybe breath weapons or.
Yeah, we should do like 6 different options and like really go wild with it. Be like a dragon can be one, but you could
A
also
bear that breathes out fire, or owlbear. We don't get enough owlbears.
No, they really
I love
don't.
a good owlbear.
Yeah, I think we'd have a turtle that breathes fire. It's like you come out, you shrink down to a turtle, and you're like, oh shit, I'm a turtle. But then you find out you can breathe out a cone of fire.
Yeah.
Like this badass turtle. Or a ferret, then you get ridiculous speed and agility.
A jackalope.
Oh yeah.
A rabbit with deer antlers.
And we got to get back to what you were talking about earlier, where you've got dual purposes, dual things going on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Probably a flying creature too. You got to have a flying creature.
Oh, I've got owlbear, turtle, ferret. I put gold dragon, but we could actually do a sub chart where it's like you have to roll which dragon.
Yeah.
So that's 4. We need just 6 more. What other flying? Maybe a griffin?
Yeah.
Pegasus.
Pegasus? Oh, what minotaur?
Oh yeah.
If we're going with those type of creatures.
So are we going to let them use the properties of these creatures, or do we make up, like we determine what their attacks are?
I would say, like, if it's an owlbear, a dragon, if it's something griffin, something you can look up in the monster manual, anything it can do, you can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then they got to pull that creature up, and then that's what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
But things like the turtle, I think we had to make up something funny.
Yeah.
Maybe the turtle could be the one that's off the wall.
Yeah. Everything else is kind of like normal.
Yeah.
Well, like
And you got a speed of 5.
yeah. Centaur? No. Oh, what about just like a goblin?
You just grow a horse's body. Your legs turn into a horse.
Yeah.
You still have your upper torso, but like, oh my God, I'm half horse.
Let's do it. Yeah. 2 more.
Shreds all your clothes. I was gonna suggest seal or something like a mammal that could survive.
We could do an aquatic one, which would really be messed up if there's no water around.
Yeah.
Octopus.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do seal.
Oh yeah. Okay, with the half horse, the centaur. Is that a creature in the book?
Centaurs, I think they are. They actually used to be a playable race at one point in
that's
second
cool.
edition. Yeah. I think centaurs are definitely in the monster manual. I'd be shocked if they weren't. If not, it's more of a role-playing aspect than anything else. Like, oh my God, what the hell just happened to my lower half?
Yeah, I don't see it. That's weird. Oh yeah, it's in, I don't know why it didn't show up under creatures, but yeah, it's in the monster manual. Yeah.
Back to the effects chart. We're up to 13, so we need 7 more effects that this item could produce.
For positive, how about something that benefits the group? Maybe like give advantage on all their attacks.
Yeah.
For every 1d4 turns.
Is Bless the armor class buff? What does Bless do?
Yeah, I think it gives everyone a 1d4 to their attack rolls.
All right.
I might be wrong with that. That might not be Bless. Could be.
Yeah, it's attack. Attack rolls or save throws.
Yeah.
We got 5 more.
So the group one, did you do with health or?
I did advantage for the whole party for 1d4 rounds, and then I did bless party, just the party. It wouldn't be anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need like the wild and weird ones, and maybe like one more positive one.
Should we do a heal?
Oh shit! Yeah, let me do a heal, like just the party or everyone.
Maybe it casts mass heal.
So it heals the creatures or it heals opponents as well as you.
Okay, well, with mass heal, you restore up to 700 hit points divided to you divide it into whoever you choose. So you've got like a pool of 700 hit points you can give out.
Oh, I see it. Wow. I was thinking of invisibility.
Yeah, all of a sudden everybody disappears.
Yeah.
That would be cool. That would be cool. Well, then you got mass healing word, where up to 6 creatures can restore up to 2d4 plus spellcaster's modifier.
I think that would be cool.
I think it should be done at a higher level, more than just 2d4.
Yeah, it seems like working with a little higher.
Maybe do it at level 7, so that'd be 4d4. No, 64.
Did I hear invisibility?
Yeah.
Yep, you did.
And mass healing word.
So what all do we have now?
Thunder Wave, you become giant sized, but you're blind. Or giant strength, but you're blind. Darkness, Thunder Step, teleport 300 feet. Mesmerize, Mana Shroud, Mana Burst, Mass Healing Word, Prismatic Spray. You are healed completely, but you turn to crystal. It begins raining gold. Polymorph into a random beast. Advantage for party for 1d4 rounds. Bless for the party. Invisibility. And that's all of them so far.
How about something that creates a terrain type of spell? It creates difficult terrain. Is it Earth Tremor? It's got a range of 10 feet. Each creature other than you must make a dex throw. When it fails, you take 1d6 bludgeoning damage and you're knocked prone. Yeah, and if it's loose earth or stone, it becomes difficult terrain until it's cleared out. Now, what about if you like grow tentacles and you like or maybe you grow mantis arms and your instinct is to grapple the creature in front of you.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you got this creature grappled and you don't know what the hell to do with them.
That could be one of the polymorphs. You turn into a manatis.
Oh yeah.
I kind of like this being its own role though, because like we could add it to the list too, and then there's 2 opportunities to become a manatis whenever you use these items.
Create a snow blizzard or something.
Yeah, we could do like a blizzard. I was also thinking like random terrible like music starts playing for a certain amount of time. Let's do blizzard and music fills the air. Bad music. And that leaves us with 1.
Or like, or something because you have to make a save or you get an earworm. Is that what they call it when you get a song stuck in your head? And then it gives you disadvantage because you can't get the stupid song over your head.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Distracted or something.
Yeah.
For the last one, random song stuck in head, disadvantaged, 1d4.
Until you get the song out of your head.
We didn't even think about defensive properties possibly of this. Like if you wanted to make armor out of it, like could you finagle the magic to do it, you know, to give you a bonus to your armor class or a +1 ring or.
Yeah.
I feel like all of the items made from this should have a random effect, unrelated to anything that we've done here that is permanent with the item. You can use it X amount of times a day, or permanently if it's one of those effects like, oh, maybe it gives you a +1 to strength. And then it has all these other effects that you can, when you try to use it, has. Because I think it should be a worthwhile item to own. Random items sometimes like that get cast aside because you're either too nervous to use it. But I think if it has a principal property about it that gives you a positive effect to your character, you're going to want it. And then the fun stuff just kind of comes with it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as far as the ring or the armor, like we said, if it has a certain property for fire or acid or whatever, I guess it would give you resistance or immunity to spells of that type. On some of those, would you want it permanent instead of at random?
Like it could be. I mean, you could make with this stuff a +1 dagger and imbue it with the stuff. And of course, you get all the other stuff, the random stuff that comes with it. But I think you should be able to have an item that has an initial purpose, I guess.
Yeah, so something about it could be constant, not always so random. Okay, well, maybe like that particular crystal had a concentration of one of those elements.
Yeah, yes.
But there is still the possibility that a random element can burst out of it.
Yeah, yep.
And that's why when you roll a certain number, I don't know if we're going to go with the critical fail and critical success, or that's when something else random can just pop out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I had this thing pop into my head called the Heart of Athalia. I feel like, yeah, like it's the source of all magic or something. I don't know. I know it's totally off topic about the item we've been creating tonight, but I wanted to write that down just because I feel like as we're talking about these sub-levels of this campaign or adventure that we're creating, like the Heart of Athalia kind of rings out with me. And like, I feel like the closer you get to the Heart of Athalia, the more magical the energy becomes.
It's a great campaign title.
Yeah.
Like an underground adventure and going into the heart of Athalia. And it also sounds like an awesome epic magic item.
Yeah, yes it does. Yeah, I don't know what that item is yet, but on a future episode we will create the Heart of Athalia.
I have one last idea I wanted to mention.
Do it.
You mentioned about potions and stuff. And I was thinking before that about like grinding the crystals down into a powder.
Yep.
And I was thinking of the addicts and stuff they would ingest it that way.
That's right.
That's only with the super young, like newborns and stuff, where the crystals are like chalky or like a salt. As they get older, the crystals will harden, and then they'll have like the magical imbuements. But if they're too young, it's like a brittle.
Yeah, like there's a sweet spot that you can only harvest it then, and if you grind that down, that's where I think the addiction comes from, and the spells that we were talking about last time. Yeah, that ties it all together really perfectly. Wow, good catch! Yeah. Holy shit!
The apothecaries take great pains to safely harvest the cherry out of, or the nuts out of them.
Yeah. Yep.
The powder is super deadly. If you get it on your skin, ingest it, you become cripplingly addicted to it.
Yeah, maybe that's the source of the campaign. Why are people going crazy? Why are they losing their minds? Why are they just murdering their neighbors? What's happening here? And maybe only a small percentage of the people that use this, just like the randomness of the items, become enhanced somehow, almost like a mutant, or they receive a permanent superpower or a spell that they can cast permanently, or they gain control over an element or something like that. Maybe there's this just fraction of a chance that it makes you super, but a much larger chance that it drives you insane. And that's how the campaign starts out. Why are people evolving this way?
Yeah, I'm liking it.
I was having ideas if when you're when you have this stuff in your system, maybe you can hear the Manatis. Like you can pick up their like how they communicate, like telepathically or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're hearing voices in your head, but you don't know what it's saying. Almost driving you crazy.
Or maybe taking it allows you to understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
While you're under the influence, you hear these voices and you're like, what the hell are they? What is going on? Maybe they're a call. Maybe that's part of the campaign. They're calling people to come down to the subterranean caverns. They send out, or these crystals get sent out. If people start taking it, they start calling people down because that's how they're collecting magic or something like that. I don't know. Just a thought.
Well, yeah, it's like a temptation, though, like to drop slaves down.
Yeah.
Yep. So you hear this voice telling you imploring you to take the crystals, or ingest it, and you'll be able to understand more.
Yeah.
And does it make you magical? Does it give you magical abilities?
I would say, yeah.
So if they're going to call you, it's because they want to feed on your magic. So they're like herding you in for a food source.
It's like, maybe they use the people as food or slave labor, or maybe both.
Yeah, a little bit of each. Yeah, maybe after you've ingested this, it spreads and grows in your system like it's almost like an infection. And so by the time you get down there, you're just teeming with the magic. Like maybe these Manatis aren't as quite as sweet as we thought they were. Maybe they have a diabolical plan, like they've been suppressed and sent down to this sub-subterranean level for so long. They're tired of it and they want to make their way to the surface or something. And this is their play. This is how they make their move. They crush their enemy with their crystals. And they come to the surface and just there's no one left to really have to take over.
There's a dark side to them.
They could be from a different time, like millions of years ago.
Yeah. Or like you had said earlier, another dimension, another place like that. Maybe, I love the idea, like the Transformers idea, where they crash land here long before there were elves and dwarves and dragons and just have been there below the surface for millennia.
Evolving.
I don't know. Anything else you want to talk about with this item tonight? I feel like we've just kind of just built, and we've got some great ideas for the adventure that we're creating for all you folks out there. So I hope you're happy. We're working for you. You can donate down below. There's some Patreon, or you can join the channel. Either way, Comment, like, share.
Subscribe.
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 That would be a huge help. So we'll leave it at that tonight, folks. I think we've taken a step further in this, and I want to thank you guys for coming out and hanging out tonight. Artie, especially, you were up late last night with me, and so I'm dragging ass today. I don't know about you, but thank you for taking the time, and thank you, Jim. I know you work as well. I don't know what this work thing is you talk about, but word. I think when all is said and done, I think we're going to end up with an amazing final product.
I like what we were talking about tonight. I like this direction. It's shaping up to, it could be a nice campaign, like a module, kind of doing world building at the same time.
Yeah. Someday before I die, I want to hold in my hands just the world of Athalia, where you open it up and it's just like broken down maps, this region and the whole history and stories. And
don't go to sleep with a catch it in your pocket.